This is a tale of two roses and how you can see temperature when you paint. So let's get started. All right, Joe Mackenzie here. Here is the rose picture that you can work from if you want to. You just screen capture it. It's a picture that I took. It's not copyrighted or anything like that. And as you can see, the flower is all basically almost one value. And here is the first painting that I did of it. This was done slowly, probably the more traditional watercolor way with layers of paint. But for me, at this point in my life, it looks a little bit labored and tight. I want things to get looser. So in order to get looser, here comes the second one, this is what I'm going to demo today. This is the second one, which I like better. Now, the piece of paper is a 12 by 12 Arches cold press block. The brush that I'm using is 1 inch wide at the bottom, so it's a pretty big brush. So the first thing I'm putting in is a neutral background because this is all about temperature. That's what I'm exploring in my painting right now is temperature. How warm or cool is something? And if I can create form, especially something that is basically one color, instead of making color value substitutes, finding the substitutes in terms of color warmth or coolness, I can create a more vibrant form with much more color than what you saw in that first attempt that I did. It's just a different way of painting. There's no right or wrong. You know, you're a painter. You know that there's no right or wrong here. It's just something I'm interested in. So the first thing that I do is remind myself that I need a reference. That background is neutral and it's light. You know, it's probably in the end, it's just slightly darker than the overall rose is, but not even by probably one value step. Hopefully everything is all one value. Yeah, you know, in the end, not everything is going to be one value, but everything is going to be probably like in the value range of 2s through 3.5s, maybe 4 at the most, I hope. And that's just because I'm interested, that's what I'm interested in doing now. Because I find temperature quite fascinating. And I've been painting glass, and temperature has, and glass, transparency has a lot to do with that. And I wanted to see if I apply that to the petals of a rose, what would happen. So those darker spots that went in first are kind of cool because they have their quinacridone gold with a little bit of blue in them. So that cools them down a little bit. Now I looked at where are my warmest, brightest forms, and I'm putting those in, which is lemon yellow and just a little bit of cadmium yellow, which is a very, very strong color. But I'm not being frugal with the paint. It's quite thick. I'm also using the brush as a tool. I'm using it as a sculpting tool. I'm letting it follow the direction that the petals go in. And I'm trying to create, if I'm going to make a curve, then I try to make the brush make that whole curve and not break up brush strokes if I can help it. Now I'm looking at what is medium. Now nothing, remember, nothing is dark, medium, and light in this form because really everything is all one value. So I'm talking relatively. Relative to the yellow, this is a little bit darker, but I want to maintain brightness. So this is, I don't know, some yellow I mixed up, orange. It probably has cadmium yellow in it and probably a little bit of permanent rose would be my guess. Yeah, that would be my guess because I do want this rose to look bright compared to the background if I can. And I want to do that with as few strokes as it's possible to do because I want it to look like it has some energy. And, you know, it also makes it look a little bit more abstract. I'm kind of interested in paintings that are definitely about the real world, but are a little bit more abstract in interpretation. There's a certain looseness that I just respond to in other people's paintings. Now, this is a spot where things got a little dicey. It's time to address the dark middle of that rose. And what I wanted to do was not be a matchy-matchy painter here. I could see that there was some green in there. There was some brown in there. See, I put a green, I put a brown. But neither one, they were dull. They were dull to me. And I thought, no, this painting is about temperature. So don't match value. Think about temperature. So I thought, okay, and temperature, then what I have to do is I have to mix up something that is considerably warmer. What's warmer? To go toward my reds or my oranges. And so that's what I'm going to do in just a minute. This is a little bit of a misstep that happens here, but it's so slight, we're not even going to talk about it. You know. It was just a moment of indecision. You know, indecision can make you do things that you shouldn't do. And anyway, in the end, it didn't matter because nothing that I did right here was of consequence. It's a small wash, and like I said, has no consequence at all. Just reinforce the decision of what I want to do, which is now go into the middle of that rose and make something that is darker and warmer. So it has to be darker than the orange I've already put in, but it needs to be closer on going toward red. I can't let it tip over into brown. If I let it tip over into brown or green, then I will have a cool temperature, and I want this to be warm, so it has to be kind of fiery in a way. So that's what's happening here, and I'm looking any other place in the rose where I see that happen. And I see it happen in certain places where there are connections, where petals are close together and deep inside the rose. And that's often the case with flower forms, where the petal meets, you know, closer to the stem, things will look a little bit more colorful, brighter than they do as the petals fan out. So that's something that I know from painting roses. Now, right now, you know, I'm a little disheartened because I look at it and I think, oh boy, what have I done? I've made a one value rose. I'm all about value, color, and shape. And, you know, and it's not happening yet. I've got a lot of shapes. They're interconnecting. That's good. Everything is sort of one value or awfully close, but I don't have a form yet. I can tell that I don't have a form yet. So what do I need to do? I thought, well, one thing you need to do is make things brighter. I knew that I wanted to make this a bright rose. I wanted to be unapologetic. I didn't want it to look like I had spent a long time sneaking up on it the way I did with the first rose. I wanted it to be strong and what do you call it? Look like I had confidence. So there's some cadmium yellow and probably a little bit of lemon yellow going in just to reinforce color there because things were looking a little too washed out. Let's see what happens. Okay, now I thought, as soon as I did that, I realized, oh, now my darks don't look as dark as they did before. So I went back in, reinforcing the decision I made about what is my darkest dark. But remember, it's a warm dark, a warm dark. All right, that was my hand trying to see if everything was dry. I didn't feel, what I had at this point was an island surrounded by oceans painting. Now, what I don't want to do is I don't want to make individual petals and get all tight because this picture is about this one value, one shape rose. And if I start making leaf shapes that are precise in any way, it's going to take the eye away from what I was interested in painting in the first place. So I have to keep things kind of abstract. And also what I did here was I also know that I need to keep that background grayed down so that the color, it looks as if it's more vibrant than it is. It looks more vibrant than it came from the tube because what's surrounding it is mostly grayed down greens. Anytime you can surround, you know, pure pigment with something that's dulled down with a certain amount of gray, then your colors will look more vibrant. Now, I'm turning around right now. Yeah, in the studio, this looks so much brighter than it does on this picture, and frankly, that's what I wanted. So remember to keep the whites of your paper white, your paints wet, mask for value, mix for color. You can see all my color dabs there. Please join my YouTube channel. At least 80% of you who watch these videos do not subscribe, and if you hit that subscribe button, it would really be helpful to me. And if you have any questions, let me know because I'm going to do a live, you know, question and answer soon. And I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.